Chapter 3. The Mysterious Overself. Remote, yet near, unutterably aged, lone, he sits within the temple's inner shrine, with folded hands and countenance divine, omniscient, inscrutable, unknown. G. P. Williamson. Saints and sages, thinkers and philosophers, priests and scientific inquirers have tried for centuries to understand the enigmatic nature of the human soul. They find man a paradoxical being, one capable of descent into the darkest abysses of evil, and yet equally capable of ascent to the sublimest heights of nobility. They discover two creatures within his breast, one related to the demons, and the other related to the angels. So wonderfully constituted is man that he can develop out of his own nature all that is most admirable equally with all that is most reprehensible in life. Are we mere lumps of animated matter? Has man no higher birth than the flesh? Or are we spirit entities, bright and radiant from God, but temporarily housed and limited in our bodies? Are we, as many think, nothing more than improved monkeys, ex-apes with ugly traits that betray our lineage? Or are we, as few believe, nothing less than degenerate angels? Are we to be the hapless prey of time? Is each of us to fill his obscure corner of this earth for a brief while and then disappear? When I look abroad, on every side I see dispute, contradiction, distraction. When I turn my eye inwards, I find nothing but doubt and ignorance. What am I? From what cause do I derive my existence? To what condition shall I return? I am confounded with these questions. I begin to fancy myself environed with the deepest darkness on every side, wrote the Scottish skeptical thinker David Hume. Is it possible for us to find the true answers to these perplexing questions? Man flings these questions at the face of life and waits, but finds no answer till he totters into the grave. Yet the gods have invested man with intelligence, a faculty which is fully equal to discovering the truth about his own self, though it may fail when confronted by the deeper riddle of the universe. These are the riddles of life which have puzzled the sages for 60 generations, and will puzzle many more. The cleverest minds, the ablest pens, and the most eloquent lips have busied themselves for these dark enigmas, but still mankind gropes for the answers. Man, a doubting and despairing figure, stalks across the cold wastes of this world and laughs cynically at the name of God. But despair is the stricken child of ignorance. God has sent a true light into the heart of every child that is born, but it must be unveiled. We have wrapped around it the dark shrouds that blind us, and we ourselves must unwrap them. No cry that goes up from the depths of a sincere heart goes up in vain, and if your prayer is fashioned aright, it will be answered by the God in your own heart. The average man sends out his tentacles towards life, feeling his way towards something he does not quite comprehend. He has hardly perceived that when he begins to apply his intelligence to the solution of his own problem, himself. He will automatically solve the parallel problems of God, life, the soul, happiness, and so on. The white race has wandered all over the surface of this earth in search of new Americas, till there is hardly a rod of land upon which it has not set foot. Yet I purpose to indicate here another world, which has indeed been explored by a few, but ignored by many. It is not so very long ago that our geographers denied the existence of a goodly part of this world that they inhabited. The spacious concept of America was once placed among things at which to laugh at loudly. So too, it has been the case with the common notion that what we can at present see of man, his fleshy form, represents all that he is and all that we are ever likely to be. The worms will hold high revel over the sum total of ourselves, and not merely over our bodies. The notion is a nasty one, but many, if not most people, consider it a true one and regard the possibility of surviving death as something to be ridiculed. They shake their heads and profess that they cannot understand the mystery of spirit, but they will readily accept matter, whose ultimate nature is hardly less mysterious. It is part of my purpose to show that such persons go wrong when they make the mistake of accepting the common condition of human mentality as representing its ultimate. It is true that there are slimy trails in man, dark with the creepings of strange and vile creatures. But then there are also radiant places where the soul swiftly takes wings. The psychoanalyst who looks only for the first finds them. Throughout the verbal traditions handed down by our earlier forefathers, and shining through the literature of the world, far back as the first rude manuscripts of Oriental peoples, and up to the newest product of the printer's press of this year of grace, there has been a strange yet recurring allusion to another self within man. It does not matter what name was given to this mysterious self, whether it be called soul or breath, spirit or ghost. There is indeed no other doctrine in the world which possesses so far-flung an intellectual ancestry as this. Everybody knows that there is a fixed limit to the range within which normal human consciousness can function. Everybody does not know that there have always been some intrepid humans who have played the King Canute to their own minds, bidding the turbulent waves of thought roll back until unconsciousness crossed the normal limit and found itself in the free worlds of the spirit. These statements of experience made by spiritual seers throughout the ages must be faced. They are either babblings of irresponsible lunatics, or they are words of such importance as to upset the present materialistic basis of our life. I do not know that it will avail us much trying to trace out the paternity of this doctrine, for truth may arise in a multitude of heads all over the globe, and none be its primal father save the mysterious source whence all thought takes its rise. We can sometimes learn truer lessons by studying nature than by studying books. A man once sat and watched a worm bore a hole through a piece of wood. This simple observation taught him the principle of boring tunnels. Today, because of this man's insight, trains run under wide rivers and through mountains of solid rock. So the first seers, watching the wanderings of thought within their own minds, discovered that there was something which came into action when thinking momentarily stopped. That something was the first faint intimation of the soul. Thus, the science of soul discovery was born, and the ancients began to teach men how to know the truth about themselves. In almost every pre-Christian civilization, this knowledge was communicated in various ways. In Sumeria, Babylon, Chaldea, China, Persia, India, Mexico, among the North American Indians, the Central American Mayas, and the ill-fated Aztecs, by the Essenic fraternity among the Jews, and by the Gnostics of East Mediterranean cities. Amid the majestic ruins which strew the face of present-day Greece, there stands a vast roofless structure of tumbling walls and broken columns. They are all that is left of the site where once the festivals of Eleusinian mysteries were celebrated in pomp and reverence under the aegis of Athens. There are few today who understand what went on behind the walls of this sanctuary. Initiation into these mysteries was esteemed a subject of high importance among the ancients, though we moderns hardly know what it means. Men like Macedonian Alexander and Roman Julius Caesar did not hesitate to avail themselves of this sublime and unforgettable experience, and emerged to fulfill more consciously the great parts which destiny had allotted them. Such was the grandeur of the knowledge which came to them behind closed and guarded doors. When the epiphanies of the Greek mysteries were concluded, the last words heard by the initiate were, "Go in peace." And it is written by those who were themselves initiated that ever after he went his way through life with a soul at rest and a mind serene. Initiation was really nothing more than to enter into an awareness of what the candidate really was. It completed the makeup of man, and anyone who had not experienced it was really but a half-man. Some broken fragments of what he learnt in those old temples I have put into this book, but I have attempted to formulate these hoary old truths in a language which will appeal to modern people, and to apply them to practical life. The key to the whole problem of this ancient mystery institution was given by Plutarch when he wrote, "At the moment of death, the soul experiences the same impressions as those who are initiated into the great mysteries." Scholars are likewise uncertain as to the real purport of the Great Pyramid, that vast building whose interior mirrors the eternal quiet of the yellow deserts of Egypt. Because in its later days the funerary rites of the pharaohs were celebrated there, they arrive at the mistaken but natural conclusion that this marvelous structure was planned by its builders as a gigantic tomb. Its true purpose was infinitely higher than that. Here were brought candidates for the mystic experience called initiation, an experience wherein they were enabled to obtain temporary release from the limitations of the body and to contact this other self within man, among other things. This experience was brought about by external agency, by means of the powerful help of the high priests of that time. Go to the British History Museum and you will see a gigantic stone figure brought there many years ago by a sailing ship from Easter Island, off the coast of South America. Examine the reverse side of this statue and you will see the clearly cut figure of a handled cross. It is identical with the cross of life, or crux ansata, so often shown in ancient Egyptian representations as being carried by their deities in their hands, and so often referred to as the key to the mysteries. This is not merely a coincidence, but a significant pointer to the fact that the mystery initiations were not unknown across the Atlantic. There exists in Central America a structure outwardly similar to, but inwardly different from, the Egyptian pyramid, which was also used for religious mystical ceremonies. The mysterious events which took place in the one were duplicated in the other, and what occurred in the Greek Eleusinian temple was not dissimilar in its results to the results of both. There were several grades of initiation, naturally, but the candidates who succeeded in passing even the first had a new world of being temporarily opened to them, and went back to the world as changed men and women, for they had temporarily touched their hidden selves. If this interior experience was possible in the 20th century BC, it is also possible in the 20th century AD. The fundamental nature of man has not changed during the interval. It is true, however, that the experience was easier found and more often attained in the earlier days, because then life was more leisurely and less complicated. Is this secret self nothing more than the wild fancy or vague chimera of a few but famous men about whom time and history tell us? Has this long chain of spiritual tradition no links that are made of stronger substance than superstition? Yet these riddles which baffle us must have baffled Babylon, to take a single example of an early civilization too. If there were thinking men of that epoch who arrived at the same kind of a solution which agrees in essence with that which was arrived at by the thinking men of India, China, Egypt, Greece, and Rome, it might be worth our while to investigate that solution. The result of such an investigation will be either to strengthen our present position and to weaken theirs, or to weaken our own dearly cherished beliefs and to confirm the doctrines of the ancients. And the only sort of investigation which is of any use to this inquiry is a practical one. I have taken the trouble to carry out such a research, though not without some difficulty, and in the sequence have been compelled to testify that the wisdom of the ancients is not altogether a fanciful thing. Indeed, I have discovered that their doctrines, instead of being the unreal coinage of dreamers' heads, contain much in which we who live and work in the bustling world may place credence. The modern world does not care to resort to the famous thinkers of antiquity to have its problems solved. Thereby it misses much. It may be that the meditations of these sages of antiquity can yield not a little fruit for the students of modernity. We may attempt to cut ourselves adrift from the great philosophies of the past, but since they were based on the eternal principles upon which all true thinking must be based, we shall be forced to return. Philosophy fell from power when the over-intellectual reduced it to mere disputation. It will be restored to its rightful place when the over-sophisticated souls of today awake to the need of a more enlightened outlook than the present confused teaching can afford. There is something more in man than is apparent from ordinary impressions. The discoveries of abnormal psychology throw out strange hints about this, and the never-ending accounts of mystical experience confirm it. What is this moreness in man which causes him to hold fine ideals and to foster great thoughts? What is this finer spiritual presence in his heart which fitfully pulls him away from a merely earthly existence, thus setting up constant strife between the angel and the beast which tenants our body? When we moderns are told that God is not a mere word to be argued and debated about, but a state of consciousness, we can realize here and now, in the flesh, we raise our eyebrows. When some spiritual seer quietly tells us that there are God-knowing men living among us now, we significantly tap our foreheads. When further we are assured that we bear the divine within our breasts, that divinity constitutes our own true selfhood, we smile in a superior way. Yet this is not theory, nor is it sentiment. It is an open and patent fact to people who have gone some way in spiritual precipitancy. Before the calm sphinx, a truly spiritual teaching, the West stares blankly. It can make the most amazing machines. It can build ships of stupendous size. It can transform our homes with the wonders of wireless and applied electricity. Yet it cannot do this simple thing. It cannot receive and understand the meaning of life. The plain fact is that calamity has fallen upon us, and we have forgotten who we are. We can trace our kin to the ape with a wealth of detail and proof for this miserable pedigree, but we cannot remember our kindred with the angel. We have been too content with allocating the high places of spirituality to the few names of a far-off past, and with assigning the muddy depths to humanity in general. We forget our own divine nature, for we too can approach Jesus, become Buddha-like, or win the wisdom of a Plato. Yet unless we believe this passionately, we shall remain sunk to a status near the animals. But what thing dost thou now, looking Godward to cry, I am I? Thou art thou. I am low, thou art high. I am thou whom thou seekest to find. Find thou but thyself, thou art I. O my sons, O too dutiful, towards God, not of me, was not I enough beautiful? Was it hard to be free? For behold, I am with you and in you and of you. Look forth now and see. Hertha, by Algernon C. Swinburne. There are those who will express disdain at this egocentric philosophy. Then I shall answer, not with my own words, but with the inspired announcement of the German seer Eckhart: God is at the center of man. Does one blaspheme against God in thus defying the self? Only the superficial can make this accusation, for the true soul of man is divinity. There can be no blasphemy in such an attitude. We have nearly forgotten the existence of the spiritual self, though the self, in its long-waiting vigil, will never forget us. Why has man possessed the religious yearning? Because we love ourselves, because we unconsciously yearn for union with our true selves. The human race possesses an age which defies imagination. Countless figures of men, women, and children have appeared upon this turning planet through eons of time, and having played their parts, seem to have sunk down to eternal sleep. The keenest intellects of our time are busy gathering the materials left by the races of yesterday. The upheaval vestiges of ancient civilizations and the secrets of a cataclysmic past. Yet the seer must smile at their admirable but pathetic efforts to take intellectual toll of our ancestry, which is infinitely outstretched. In the picturesque words of Sulpicus to Cicero, all things are being precipitated by the relentless decree of an immutable fate down the yawning throat of everlasting oblivion. If we follow the seers and fling the eons aside, peering into the dimmest regions of prehistoric antiquity, we reach a period when man entirely dropped his body of flesh and inhabited an electromagnetic form, a radiant body of ether. Farther back, there was a change in his inner nature, and he dropped off all passions and personal emotions entirely, all feelings or desires like fear, anger, hatred, lust, and the like. But thoughts still played in his consciousness, still arose like waves upon the surface of his mind, and still connected themselves with his personal life. And so we trace him back to a time when even thoughts took their exit, and when the necessity of thinking in a sequential, logical manner in order to obtain understanding disappeared. Not only did he no longer need the reasoning faculty, but it even became a hindrance to him. For man had now reached the naked condition of pure selfhood. The whole matter might perhaps be put more plainly by saying that the human race, in the course of its long history, has superimposed a second self upon the individual nature with which each man began. This second self is usually called the person, and came into being through a union of spirit and matter, though through a commingling of particles of consciousness drawn from the ever-conscious real self with particles of unconscious matter drawn from the body. This second and latter self is the one we, each of us, know, the personal self. But the first and real self, which existed before thinking and desiring appeared within the being of man, is the one which few of us know, which is subtle and not so apparent because it makes us all partake of the nature of divinity. It lives always over our heads, an angelic thing of unimaginable grandeur and mysterious sublimity, and therefore I call it the Overself. Back of the man we see lives lives another man whom we do not see. Back of this body of flesh is a starry and sublime consciousness. This doctrine of the true self in man is expressed beautifully in one of India's ancient seers. Unseen but seeing, unheard but hearing, unperceived but perceiving, unknown but knowing, This is thyself, the ruler within, the immortal. The materialist never tires of telling us how foolish the pale visionary is for trying to catch clouds, and the Overself, sitting in the heart of the taunter, smiles tolerantly at all his logical twaddle. We live our true lives in the depths of our hearts, not in the superficial mask of personality which we show the world. The living inhabitant is more important than the stone house. Walt Whitman, that bluff and enthusiastic Yankee rhymeless poet, saw the truth in his half-confused manner and expressed it thus in Leaves of Grass. I swear I begin to see the meaning of these things. It is not the earth, it is not America who is so great. It is I who am great, or to be great. Underneath all, individuals. I swear nothing is good to me now that ignores individuals. The whole theory of the universe is directed unerringly to one single individually, namely you. And this from Whitman's poem To You. Oh, I could sing such grandiose and glories about you. You have not known what you are. You have slumbered upon yourself all your life. The mockeries are not you. Underneath them and within them I see you lurk. Whoever you are, claim your own. There are memorable moments in our lives when we receive from the Overself hints of a higher existence possible to man. At such times our house of life is unshuttered and slender rays of dawn enter in. We know then that the soul's dreams can come true, that love and truth and happiness are indeed our birthright. But alas, the brief hour passes, and with it our faith. Are they then to be of no worth to us, those shining lapses into a diviner existence? Let them stand as pillars of clouds by day, pillars of fire by night, to guide us through the wilderness of modern times. These faint and impalpable intuitions which come to a man in his sanest moments are half-heard whispers of this greater self of his. The spiritual call is forever trying to voice itself in the heart of mankind, but we do not listen. The spiritual impulses which arise in the hearts of our best men are themselves the best token of a higher possibility for the race. Man, as he really is, and as he eternally has been and shall be, is a spiritual being. Life in the physical body does not detract from the truth of this statement. The material senses hold man under a hypnotic glamour, real enough in their own way, cause him to confound his true self with them. Heaven lies about us, not only during the innocent days of infancy, but every moment of our existence, yet we do not know it. A few are so close to this truth that they are unconsciously waiting for the miraculous moment of recognition. They have to be told of it in the right way, and hope will flash up in their souls. That hope is the silent voice of the Overself. It is somewhat ironical that man's very self, his true nature, has become a secret in these days. Man walks along the dusty roads of life like that seeker of old time who spent the years wandering through foreign lands in quest of a rare treasure of which he had heard, whilst all the time he himself was being sought for as the heir to a great fortune. Wrapped in the folds of our own nature hides a rare jewel, though we know it not. None has yet dared to set a price upon it, nor will any ever dare to do so, for its value is beyond all things of known worth. We must try, then, to trace out the Overself, to run down the gamut of our inner workings till we can get no farther. Then we shall realize that body and intellect are not our be-all, but that the Overself is the witness of both, the source of complete peace, perfect intelligence, and absolute immortality. We of this practical century have little confidence in abstract propositions. We are always dubious about thoughts which carry us away from the concrete world. we distrust and deprecate theoretical systems which take their start out of the air. The question will be asked, do you possess any practical method whereby we may attain this self-knowledge which you praise so much? Or is yours but a speculative doctrine which may make a nice adornment to the facade of metaphysics, but is without utility to men who work, live, and love, and suffer? Is it but a dreamy fancy which cannot hold out against the grim actualities of modern city life? And so, without any more ado, I shall place before the reader a description of the way of investigation which he, too, may follow if he cares, and which, carried to a successful issue, will answer convincingly the perplexing questions that troubled my head once and may now trouble his.